Right.
Do you have a microphone there?
Yes, please, because we're recording. Thank you.
All right, okay. Thank you very much. Good evening, audience. It's actually very encouraging to see that we have got a very, very good turnout. My name is Makam Tasa. I am the Secretary General of the Zimbabwe People First political party. I am sure I've been asked to introduce myself in a bit more detail. By fate of my name as Mutasa, I was actually born into ZANU-PF. It wasn't by choice. At the age of 16, I was given my first political membership card in ZANU-PF. It was not by choice. Around the 1990s, when I was a little older and by choice, I participated significantly in the Forum for Democratic Reform. For those of you that remember the Justice Sansole and the late Chief Justice of the country, that was a forum specifically to push for democratic change. I left the Forum for Democratic Reform when it converted to a political party. A little later on, when the movement for democratic change started, I participated significantly in it as a pressure group. When it changed to a political party, I left. In the 2000 year, I was a founder member of what was then known as the Support Group for Democratic Participation in Governance. It actually sought to simply select across the political parties those that were competent and capable and those that we believed could represent the wishes of a good economy, a good political economy in the Parliament of Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Mr. Mutasa.
Right.
You have
Okay.
30
Thank
seconds
you.
left.
All right. In the year 2015, again, because of my name and what had then happened in ZANU-PF, I returned to politics under the Zimbabwe People First as a founding member. That is the brief life that I have in politics, and I'm looking forward to tonight's debate. I'm a firm believer in democracy. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker will introduce himself. Let's try to keep to the time, so we want to pack in as much as we can in the 2 hours that we have for this session. So let's be brief in our introductions.
Thank you, Violet. Thank you, Bella. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Trust Chikoora, and I am Secretary General of Renewal Democrats of Zimbabwe, RDZ, which is a member of the Coalition of Democrats, CODE. It is good to be here tonight at this inaugural election debate. And as RDZ, we would like to provide leadership to lead Zimbabwe to become a united, peaceful, democratic, and prosperous nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker.
Thank you, Violet. Thank you, Bella. It's quite exciting to be here tonight and see Zimbabweans actually interacting in this manner. My name is Benison Judantini. I'm the Treasurer General of the PDP with Lucia Mativenga as the President. I'm also, tonight, also acting Secretary General of the People's Rainbow Coalition. And I'm really excited to be here tonight, and we are glad to have an impact on what's going to happen with Zimbabwe going forward. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know whether I should start by complaining. This chair is a bit too high for me, and I feel like I'm going to fall over.
Well, I can fix one thing for you. That's the microphone, the chair. I'm not so sure I can do it now.
It's okay. My name is Mildred Mkandla. I'm the National Secretary for Education and Training in ZAPU. As you all know, ZAPU is the oldest party in the country. ZAPU has come in many forms. There's been other ZAPUs in the past. But the ZAPU that I represent today is the original ZAPU without a name. I've been in politics since the age of 8, after reading about Kenneth Kaunda and after reading about Pilgrim's Progress. I've been in I've held women's positions in ZAPU. I've been out of the country for about 34 years. And when I came back in 2011, I rejoined ZAPU and participated actively.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Let's move right along to the next speaker.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Harrison Mudzuri, representing PDP led by President Tendai Biti, and we are also a member of the MDC Alliance. I thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cheerio. I'm from the Movement for Democratic Change led by Professor Washman Ngube. My position in the party is the National Director for Planning, Strategy and Implementation. Formerly, I was Director of Elections at national level. And then before then, I was the MDC Secretary General for the Youth, even before the split. And we hope today we'll engage and debate and find a way forward for Zimbabwe. I thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alpha Mtowongi from Zimbabweans United for Democracy, Zunde. I actively participated from Manicaland with the MDC before all the splits and everything else. Formerly, I've been an educationist and a marketer. Right now, we as Zunde are part and parcel of the PRC, People's Rainbow Coalition. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Madhuk Chivasa. I'm from NCA, National Constitutional Assembly. I'm the national administrator of that political party, and by that virtue of being the national administrator, I'm also the spokesperson. Our president is Professor Lavo Madhuk, who is also our presidential candidate. We're looking forward to a good debate. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Melania Makumbe, and I'm from Koba in Gweru. I'm here representing Build Zimbabwe Alliance. I'm a member of the National Executive Committee of Build Zimbabwe Alliance. Maybe a brief background about Build Zimbabwe Alliance. We started off as a civic movement advocating for political change in Zimbabwe. Then we realized that no one could do for us what we wanted to done in Zimbabwe. Then we formed a political party in the year 2016 with Dr. Noah Manyika as our convener, and he is our presidential candidate in the upcoming elections. Thank you.
Thank you to our debaters. Could we give them another round of applause, please? In addition to our debaters, we have in the audience delegates from the political parties. May I kindly ask you to please stand if you're a delegate from the political parties so that we can acknowledge you. There they are. Please give them a warm welcome. Our delegates will be speaking from the floor to help their debaters. Feel free to use your pen and paper if you think that the debater has missed something out that you know. Please take your seats. Okay, we want to give you the background of this debate. So Violet and I are going to lay out why you are seeing the guests who are here tonight and why some guests that perhaps you were expecting are not here this evening. WIPSU, working together with the Women's Coalition, invited 15 political parties. All of them, except one political party, was unconfirmed. 14 of the political parties represent the opposition. One political party is the party in government. 3 of the political parties are political parties that are in parliament. 7 are political parties that have fielded candidates in previous by-elections. So that was part of the selection criteria. And then we need to also let you know that at this stage, 107, a staggering 107 political parties have indicated to ZEC their intention to run in the 2018 elections? Will you remember your political parties? Will you be able to vote in one go? Okay, these are some of the questions we hope to raise with our debaters. Isn't that so, Violet?
Very true, Bella. And we really thank those who have managed to come for this debate. We need such platforms for you to interact with your constituencies. So maybe you help them put things into perspectives. I mean, out of 107 political parties today, we have 15 represented here. Maybe that's a sign that you are the front runners? Maybe? But anyway, we proceed. The context of this debate, there are a lot of issues we can talk about with our prospective political parties, ruling parties, that is. But for this particular debate, we are focusing on three main issues. That is gender equality, education, and we're also looking at the economy with special emphasis on what this means for women folk. I'm sure you know the people who are backing this event today, their major interest is in that gender equality. So most of our questions are going to be looking at that to see how well these political parties will serve us in those key issues that have become priority issues for the future of Zimbabwe.
So we have our beautiful national constitution. Many of you have seen a copy. We're focusing on section 56 of the Constitution. And our first question to the debaters is, are you ready? Are you ready to comply with section 56 of the Constitution, which reads, women and men have the right to equal treatment, including the right to equal opportunities in political, economic, cultural, and social spheres. Debaters, over to you. Who would like to go first? Sir.
Evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. I think for us in the PDP and also in the PRC, that question is easily answered. In both spheres, we actually have presidents who are female. In the PDP, where Lucia Mativenga leads the party as the president, she drives the agenda of this party. And she is a seasoned campaigner on these issues that are stated in the Constitution. In the PRC, we actually have a presidential candidate who is also a female. And these people are chosen from a forum full of men and women. And we find that this year, as far as we are concerned, this election is the year of the woman. Men have tried. We've gone through so many elections, and we've not delivered Zimbabwe. So this is the year of the woman, and I'm hoping that the women here realize that this is their election. Thank you very much.
Before we move to the next speaker, to the next debater, maybe you would want to clarify how exactly that is translated in the structure of your party. How is it represented?
We ensure in all our structures that we have equal representation. Whatever structure we have, even from the smallest unit from your branch or your ward, you actually have equal representation. Because the more we pay lip service to these issues, once you don't have it at the smallest unit down there, you will not translate that to policy at the highest level. So it must start from the grassroots and build it up. Otherwise, it's determined in boardrooms instead of grassroots. So it's translated that way in our party. Thank you.
Thank you, Bella. For us, gender mainstreaming is very important. And we have a policy within RRDZ and even within CODE as a coalition that as we go even for elections, we have to mainstream gender. So for women and youth and the disabled, the policy is such that if there is more than one candidate contesting any elected position, the preference goes with those groups. So the women, the youth, and the disabled will be able to be considered under that policy. And we are going to strive to achieve a fair balance in terms of our representatives for all elected positions. We also recognize that where we are coming from as a society, women have been disadvantaged. So when you look at our manifesto, there is a whole section to deal with women's issues, dealing with equipping women, training women, giving them the necessary skills so that they can be empowered, upscaling their skills, giving women access to markets, making them viable business people, consideration for grants by government, loans by government, and working together with the private sector. So as to get women to a position where they truly have equal opportunities with their male counterparts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In Zimbabwe People First, and I must say we are a member of the MDC Alliance. But as a party, Zimbabwe People First, we feel that our commitment to Section 56 is mandatory. It's not optional. We actually firmly believe that because it is enshrined in the Constitution, it becomes simply a matter of abiding by the law of the land. And we are doing it. We actually would want to see ourselves as a party with women in all levels of our structures and to the highest possible level where it is possible. We actually want to appeal to a lot of the women wherever they are so situated to join Zimbabwe People First for equal opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move the debate to this side.
Thank you. Zimbabwe is party to the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. And by that, ZAPU abides by that. We are working towards making sure that there is equality in the sexes in terms of holding high offices. ZAPU, as you know, came into force again in 2010. And since that time, efforts have been made and are being made to make sure that there is equality in the representation of women, in the participation of women in all decision-making structures. But as all of you will agree with me, this is not an easy thing. ZAPU's constitution says it shall endeavor to make sure that in decision-making processes, at least 30% of the women will be represented. But there was an amendment in 2012 which says we are aiming at gender parity. Ladies and gentlemen, much as we would want to have exactly 50-50, this is not an easy task. ZAPU, 2 or 3 weeks ago, signed that it was going to endeavor to make sure that these elections are going to make sure that there is 50-50 at every level. We've been going out to these districts, we've been going out to the rural areas, and we are preaching that to a lot of people, but it is not easy. But ZAPU is committed to make sure that even if we don't reach 50-50, we shall at least get somewhere near that. Some of our colleagues have actually said some of the problems that face women. In order to take part in this particular exercise, it's not easy. In 2013, coming from the UN, it was easy for me. I had cars, I had money. But to make sure that every woman is able to do that is not going to be an easy task. We are still trying as ZAPU to make sure that that happens. We may not reach the 50-50, but at the end of the day, we are hoping that one day we shall get there. We shall keep climbing.
Thank you very much, ZAPU. PDP, what resources are you putting on the table for your party to bring forward 50% women for the forthcoming elections? Okay, we can hear that the audience has questions. Can you note them down? And we will come to the audience after the debaters have made their first input. You can be very tough on them. We give you permission. Thank you. Next.
Listen to say, we as the MDC, we are part of the MDC Alliance. And being part of the MDC Alliance means whatever manifesto issues that come out, they are done at a collective. And as we speak, we are currently in the process of drafting our manifesto. And however, as we are drafting our manifesto, there are lots of emerging issues. Like, for example, the 50-50 that you're talking about. Like Zapu has alluded to earlier on, it's not easy, for women to actually come out because of, various reasons, like, for example, the background where they're coming from, the issues of patriarchy, the issue of violence in politics. So some women are scared of coming out. So as the MDC Alliance, we have taken cognizance of those issues. We have the Committee of Women, which is currently sitting down and analyzing those issues to say, okay, fine, given that background, what is it that we need to do? So as much as we are drafting our policy position, what we are saying is at the end of the day, we want to ensure that we have that 50-50 parity as we go towards the elections. And going to my political party as the MDC, we believe in devolution of power. And our theme being devolution is our revolution. So by devolution, we say that we want to decentralize the power dynamics. And when talking of power dynamics, we're also talking about women. Because women all along, we have been overwhelmed because of the patriarchal society that we exist in. We're saying devolution should start at home. Devolution should start within our families to say women are given the powers to make decisions. And we also believe that charity begins at home. We have been having these problems to say even in our structures, the representation of women is very minimal. So we came up with our 30% gender quota, but we have realized that in some instances, like for example in rural constituencies, it's we have that quota, but we feel we endeavor to go further. But then in urban setups, we have exceeded that quota. I know for a fact in Bulawayo, for instance, at provincial level, we talk of about 52% women in the provincial executives and districts. So it's not an easy road, but we're getting there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A gentle reminder again to the audience. If we have something that we seriously disagree with that is being presented, could we wait until the time when we can really ask the questions directly? I could feel some murmurings happening this side. Please, let's just respect them as they are speaking. Let's move on to Zunde.
Oh, thank you very much. We at Zunde, we uphold the concept of human equality. We are no longer calling these guys women or men. What we are saying is we are talking of their capabilities. All what we are doing right now is to try and wipe the fear that is in them, probably the inferiority that is hindering our ladies to get into politics. And from our party, we have a vice president who is a woman. And we, as I have alluded earlier on, that we are part and parcel of the PRC, People's Rainbow Coalition. It actually shows that we also respect the gender equality, because our presidential candidate at the People's Rainbow Coalition is Mai Mujuru, who is a woman. We have said these women must set a pace for men. Men have been lying to Zimbabweans for so long, and they've produced nothing. We are saying mothers are better percent, for they are the people who actually know the labor pains And men, they just put their egg and they ignore. So our concept today is we are trying by all means to have and fix a policy whereby men will respect ladies and give and elevate them to the highest level, whichever they would think. And we are saying the sky is the limit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. National Constitutional Assembly, but it's the Constitution.
Thank you for that introduction. From the NCA, I think we are the most consistent organization in terms of advocating for equality between men and women. To start with, as a political party, if you look into our structure, our presidium, our president is Professor Lafmo Majuku, then our vice president is Ingani Munkala from Mat North. So our presidium just consists of 2 people, one of which is male and one is female. Then if you look into the aspect of the section that you are quoting from the Constitution, you will remember that as NCA, we thought that that particular section that Isabella was quoting from was paying lip service to the issue of equality. Why? Because we thought that the law was supposed to be clear. For instance, we thought that if we've got a parliament with 210 seats, there was nothing that was going to stop us from simply putting it in the Constitution that of those 210 seats, 105 must be for women and 105 must be for men. So
is that what you're advocating for?
That is exactly what we're advocating for, and good to the social media. If you Google right now to see one of the reasons why NCA was saying that the Constitution was bad and advocating for a no vote was that it was not giving women the opportunity to be in positions of responsibility. Then the last thing is that is we're looking for...
interrupt you there. Are you telling us today that the NCA is going to field half of its candidates as women? Is that what you are telling us?
That's exactly where I was going when I was saying my next point.
All right. Thank you.
So as we are choosing our...
Prepare your questions, comrades.
As we are choosing our candidates, what we have done is that you realize that the NCA is going to be the only political party that is going to field more female candidates. Why I'm saying that is because of the template that we're using. We're saying that we have given the task to the provinces to choose candidates. So we're saying that in provinces where there is an uneven number, for example, let's say we've got 29 seats, we say that they must come up with more women than men. And in provinces where they've got an even number, then they can have 50-50. So if you calculate that, you realize that we actually have more than 105 women candidates. Then also in terms of the local council, we've got 1,958 council seats. We're also going to ensure that half of them, they are contested equally by men and women. We're going to field one presidential candidate, and we're going to field 210 parliamentarians. We're going to field 1,958 councillors as NCA. So I think we, as NCA, as a political party, since we're a civic society organization, we've never paid lip service to the issue of equality. We actually show by doing it.
Last but not least, to respond to that question, Build Zimbabwe Alliance.
Thank you very much, Bella. Build Zimbabwe Alliance is an alliance of all citizens willing to participate in the rebuilding of our economy and our nation. And as Build Zimbabwe Alliance, we are committed towards the building of an uncommon social contract where we are saying every Zimbabwean is important to this cause. We are saying as Zimbabweans, we need each other. We are not really looking at the issues of race or your position in society. We are saying if you are a Zimbabwean and you are willing to participate in the rebuilding of our nation, we are going to have you participating as a party. And moreover, as Build Zimbabwe Alliance, we are fielding female candidates. I'm contesting for a seat in the parliament, and I'm just 30 years old. This is my first time in politics. But what made me feel very comfortable with Build Zimbabwe Alliance is that It is a party that is not sacrificing its leadership selection criteria over things to do with party loyalty or things to do with length of tenure in the political party or things to do with your position in the society. But it's instead offering a platform for all Zimbabweans who would want to participate. So it's kind of a leadership incubator where we are offering every Zimbabwean a platform. And Build Zimbabwe Alliance is a P210 program where they train their candidates so that they can be able to represent the constituencies appropriately. So I can say, as Build Zimbabwe Alliance, we are really working towards having women equally participating, and we are saying all the women who are coming up front and who are willing to participate, even though they do not have experience, we take them in, we offer them training, we make sure that they become competent in whatever they would want to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, debaters. Let's give them a round of applause for the first round of questions. We're going to invite the delegates to come and stand behind their debaters and perhaps guide them in answering some of the questions from the floor. Candidates, can you please welcome your delegates to stand by your shoulders? Please welcome your delegates. Okay. And we're going to take our questions. Can you show by raising your hand? Aha, aha, fantastic. Okay, I'm going to start in purple, like me. Tell us your name and can you give us your question, please?
My name is Togo Mache. Can I start with a comment? In 1997, SADC declarations pointed us to 30%, 1997. In 2005, SADC had the gender parity of 50-50. So any party sitting here today that is telling me that they are at 30%, I'm not with them. And any party that is struggling with 50% because my husband doesn't allow me to stand, I'm not interested. Because they should recognize that, yes, I might be Mrs. So-and-so, but guess what? Trust. You talked about gender mainstreaming. And you lost me, my brother. Because gender mainstreaming was very much pushed by the UN years ago. The UN itself, the last time I checked, had 13% in their high administration of women. And they've been pushing gender mainstreaming for a long time. So my question is, what exactly does gender mainstreaming mean? For me as a woman, and you want to mainstream me, what does gender mainstreaming mean? Because as a gender activist, as a feminist, I don't buy it.
Delegates, debaters, you can talk to each other. You have a few minutes to chat with each other about how you're going to answer.
50-50, Section 56 is enforceable as law. I thank you very much.
All right, we'll take a question here.
Thank you. My name is Kwaliwe Majama. I'm a feminist. My question is going to go to, and for no particular reason, but that you did acknowledge that there are challenges with women's participation in politics. So this is for the MDC and ZAPU to just find out that what is it that you have been doing, and probably the NCA as well. What is it that you have been doing beyond acknowledging that there are women in the party, in terms of acknowledging that there are challenges in terms of, just women's participation, capacity that you're talking to, and, just the economic challenges there, the resources for them to be contesting in the elections. What policies do you have within the political party to recognize that there's need for that equity by acknowledging that there are challenges already in terms of, just supporting the women's caucus or the women that you have within the political parties? I'll be interested to hear this because I think it speaks to sustainability and it also speaks to just acknowledgement of different generations of women that will be coming into the parties.
Thank you very much. We have a question over here. The lady with the scarf. Could you stand up, please? Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. My question is to all the panelists. What is the gender representation in your executives, your politburos, your main wings, or maybe the top 8 of your political parties, which is the main decision bodies in your parties? If they are less than 50% as stipulated by our constitution in regards to gender equality, okay, please explain to us why you are not complying to the constitution of this land, which is supposed to be the supreme law of this land, and how can we trust you to vote for you when you cannot comply to a constitutional provision of this country in the 2018 harmonized election? And are you also going to present a zebra listing of candidates to ZEC for 2018 elections? And to Ms. Tintini, you spoke about having a female president, and I am sorry to say this, but I noted that the PRC executive has got less than 5 women and 15 men. That does not equate to 50-50 gender representation.
All right, and thank you. Thank you for 6 questions, I think. Audience, let's share. Question from here. The lady in the red scarf.
Thank you very much. My name is Neta Hishono. I'm from Windhoek, Namibia. I'm here on the ticket of the Women's Coalition of Zimbabwe. I want to share with you something from Namibia. I'll be short. The ruling party in Namibia, SWAPO, in 2014, they changed its constitution to 50-50 zebra-style list. And it really hurt some elderly politicians, some male politician to leave the playing field. But it's done. It was done in Namibia. We are there. So my message to all the political parties here and to all the 100 and how many? 7 political party, it's doable. SWAPO has done it. So I don't know if we are now the leaders in SADC, but we have now about 40% presentation of women in parliament, because SWAPO didn't get all the seats, but most of the seats. But it was done. And it was done not just 50-50, it was done 50-50 zebra-style list. It's doable. What will you do? Will you follow? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we've taken enough questions for this first part of the question and answer. Our candidates here might actually forget the questions. Do you still remember the questions that were fielded to you, sirs? You've forgotten yours? Okay, that's fine. I think we'll just go by the order the questions were thrown to us. So I think we're starting with NPF. Your response to the question that was thrown to you.
Zimbabwe people
first. Sorry, Zimbabwe people first.
Right, okay. Thank you very much. I think the questions are very candid and very direct and very welcome. I would just like to make a few comments on as many of them as I can. The first one, it's actually perhaps unfortunate that we get too technical and we use highly, sort of technical terms in talking of gender mainstreaming and things like that. I think we must bring it down to basics, and we must simply say, what have you done to put women into your structures? Or what have you done to give equal opportunities to women in your political parties? And as Zimbabwe People First, and as we will again champion at the MDC Alliance level, we have that total commitment. And where we have got the capable ladies in our structures, we will give them preference over the men that are of equal capacity. Our executive at Zimbabwe People First at the moment, our topmost structure has got 8 positions, and exactly at this point in time, we have got 4 women in that top echelon, and we have got 4 men as well to make our number in the topmost sort of presidium and executive that we have. It's unfortunate that the gentleman, you know, who spoke about violence, perhaps, right, has not been able to enunciate and give us the candid examples of what he actually means by there being more violence in the MDC alliance than there is in the ZANU-PF party or in the country as a whole. Because sometimes when we come to gatherings like this and we make statements without substantiating them, we actually give the wrong impression, or we give the false impression that there is something else that you know that the rest of the group or the rest of the audience does not know. If it is in reference to a few skirmishes that have occurred in the MDCT party, I am not in a position to answer for them, because that is to a particular political party that should have been represented here. But as the alliance, our policy is non-violence. And as ZIMPF as a party, we do not condone violence against women, against children, against anyone for that matter. And where it happens, the law must take its order, the law must take its course, and it must demonstrate. Insofar as the new dispensation is concerned, I would have actually loved to see the new dispensation, as the gentleman so calls it, to publicly condemn violence in any form and to publicly use the police law and order enforcement to actually show and demonstrate to the country that we are in a new dispensation. At this point, I don't believe that it has actually been demonstrated. In terms of the 50-50 possibilities, and I welcome the comment by the lady from Namibia, yes, it is very possible. It is all about political will. Ladies and gentlemen, let's not fool ourselves. If it could be done by Thomas Sankara in Burkina Faso in the early 80s, right, long before we talk of the SADC declarations, Thomas Sankara had been able to do it, and he's actually one of the most advanced politicians that would have actually graced Africa had he lived. We can go again and look at the Rwandese example. Paul Kagame has done it. Much as his human rights record may not be the best, but in terms of representation and in terms of numbers, he has done it. So it is all about political will, ladies and gentlemen. It can be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mtasa. Could you please hand the microphone to your delegates?
Okay.
We would like your delegates to also contribute to the answers so that we know that the party is speaking coherently. Thank you. Ladies, sorry to put you under the spotlight. It's not being mean. We are just very keen to hear your thoughts.
My name is Mrs. Muti, Vongai Muti, and I am the Treasury General for Zimbabwe People First. I want to tell you that it's possible for a woman to be in a powerful position or in a top position in any organization. All you need to do is you need the will, you need the political will to be in that position. If you want to do it, I tell you women, it is possible. No matter what happens, and I understand there are issues of violence, there are issues of discrimination, but it's something that we can work towards, work against, and it doesn't have to be a stumbling block against what we want to do. It's possible.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ms. Sanga, and I'm with Zimbabwe People First. I just want to comment on the issue of women representation. I think it's not so much about maybe the policies that are put in place. We women are undoing ourselves. Women are not willing to take part in powerful positions. That's my comment. I am a newcomer in politics. Yeah, okay. I'm actually new in politics. But you find that, at times, when women are given the opportunity, they are not forthcoming. So women out there, we urge you to actually come forward and take charge. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I will answer the specific question that I was given by my friend Toko here. Obviously, Toko is a better gender expert than myself. So I can't argue about terminology. But to put it in simple terms, we are doing all that we can to achieve 50-50. We are committed to achieve 50-50. We are working with the ladies to help them to participate in the elections. We are, in some instances, we are even favoring the ladies, if you want, in preference to the men. I'll give you a case in point. Even our own party treasurer general was vying for the same seat in Mfakos with a lady colleague. We even had him stand down in preference to the lady colleague. And now he will participate in the Senate elections. This is a live example for the court parliamentary candidate in Mfakos. So we are walking that talk. We may not be very clear on the terminology, but on the ground, we are doing what we are supposed to do. And my colleague here will also give you the statistics for the by-elections that we have participated in so far, which will also demonstrate our commitment towards 50-50.
Hello, people. My name is Nolini Uta, National Organizer for Women Wing. Ndiri nengo yakazvimirira inomiririra vakadzi kunyanya. As RDZ, we already exercised 50-50 issue. For example, we participated in 4 by-election and 3 were women. Already it's 75%.
Thank you. Let me start with, I think that's the question that was directed at me by Linda, who used to be in my party, and as a leader in that party, as a woman too. Coming from the PDP perspective, the one that is led by Lucia Mativenga, we actually do respect the leadership of women. She would confirm that in the PDP itself, we exceeded the 50% mark. Now, with coalitions, when you go into coalitions, there are culture issues that you need to start addressing when you go. You are now bringing together people from different persuasions and people who have come from backgrounds that were not like democratic backgrounds. I hope the people here understand what I'm talking about. People who have come from backgrounds where there was patriarchy. You are now dealing with people like that in a coalition, building a coalition to bring them to the level that we should be at. Now, the interesting thing that maybe we will address later, we are not yet addressing, is the statistics we are finding of the registered voters in this country. Anyone who is struggling with 50% for women, let me remind you, 55% of them, as of the last record I checked, are registered voters right now. So what's going to happen is, if you are still struggling with the 50% that's in the Constitution, the people that will vote, that have registered, are above that mark already. And you look at men, when you look at men, I think we are ranging around 45% of registered voters. So this issue is not about trying to say we deal with it at candidacy level. We deal with it, the very culture that oppressed them is the very culture that we need to deal with to actually say reality is this. So we need to deal with reality, not only when we are saying we've run out of a candidate in Fakosi, then we've got a woman we are going to fit.
Can we interrupt you, sir? Are you telling us that as you campaign, you will be letting the audiences at your rallies know that you want them to vote for women?
Any party that sits here tonight and is not actually addressing in that direction is said to be losing the election. Because the majority of your voters are the women, then the youth. And if we are addressing any rallies and we're just sloganeering and not addressing the real issues on the ground, women must be candidates, not because we're trying to fill in vacancies, but they must be candidates because they hold the majority vote right now. I don't know if I left something else here. Thank you.
Where do I begin?
I think for ZAPO, you could respond to the questions that were directly thrown at you by Ms. Koliwe Majama, and that's ZAPO together with MDC. I'm right, Koliwe? If you could directly respond to those questions.
Yes, there was a question directed at us, like we are making efforts we haven't gotten there. And I think the question was, what are we trying to do to make sure that we get there? You know, I think it's always easy for people to say we have reached 50-50, and when you go to the ground, you don't get that. So the reason why we said we're trying to get there is to be realistic, so that if you come around and say, Mrs. Mkandla, where are the women? I'll be able to say wherever they are. In 2013, ZAPO had only one woman in the presidium. And since that time, efforts have been made, and even in the national executive, I think there are about 3 or 4 women. Since that time, we've made efforts to ensure that at least we have more women in the presidium. We're just working on that right now. We had a vice president who left, and I'm sure if you've been looking at the papers, you've seen that we've merged with PTZ. And Barbara Nyagomo has become our vice president. And we are making efforts, we're making conversations, we are meeting with women leaders, we are meeting with communities and encouraging them to make sure that women participate and they vote for women. We have a slogan where we say, it can be done, it will be done, we will make it happen. And women are really holding on to that. You know, the reason why there are fewer women as far as we're concerned is because of the resources. I know the parties that are in the government receive some money. Some of our political parties don't receive that, so all the resources have to come from your pocket. For men, it is a little bit easier for them to get those resources, but for women, it really is a great challenge. Some of our women have gotten together right now to help each other to raise the money for transportation, for their regalia, for their cars and all sorts of things. So at least we're trying to get there. We are actually getting there. It may be slow, but we're definitely getting there. Just look around. Somebody said we've got 107 political parties. If you look at the leadership of all those political parties, what percentage do they form in terms of gender parity? What do they form? For those who are saying they're getting there at gender parity, what percentage does that form? And the main reason, really, like I've said before, is because of the resources and the cultural dictates. A lot of women find it very, very difficult to raise to positions of influence, because the grandmother, the mother-in-law will be saying, you can't do this, and somebody else will be saying, you can't. The chief will say, you cannot do that. So some of those things are making it very, very difficult for women to participate in politics. We must try, and that's what we're trying to do, to make situations conducive for women's participation. In our party, for instance, it is difficult for women to come to meetings because there's no childcare. We have actually started, whenever there are meetings, to make sure that we organize for the participation of the mothers who have got small children by making sure that there is a provision for somebody who is going to look after the children whilst they participate. I am here, I arrived from Bulawayo today. Can you imagine if I was a mother, a mother who was breastfeeding, would I have been able to get here? Things are very, very difficult, particularly for the younger woman. I'm 72 myself and I can go wherever I can. But the younger women who are still having children, it is an uphill struggle. And it is those young women that we want to be in the leadership positions, and they cannot do that, considering the political and the economic situation that we find ourselves in.
Thank you for that very honest answer. I think we can interject, can't we, Violet?
Yes, I think
and ask some of our first-time voters. Anybody who's registered for the first time to vote, can you show us your hands? Yeah? There's a sister here. we want to hear from you. Are young women having a hard time getting into political parties? No? Okay, thank you. Anybody else? There's a hand there.
Is there a response coming from this side? Mike here.
There's a hand here.
My name is Rainbow Change. I think women generally are having a hard time getting into politics. The young women.
Imbo?
I think we cannot run away from the patriarchal nature of our society. The way men and women alike look at women in politics is an anomaly. I think the patriarchal nature of our society is really, it inhibits the way women would want to participate in politics.
My name is Trust Ruoko, a first-time voter also. It's a pity that most of the young women have been colonized with social media platforms like Instagram. They don't know what is really happening in the nation. So it is a pity that they are not participating in politics. They are participating in the social media platforms.
Good evening. Okay, my name is Vongai Zimudzi. I'm a first-time voter and I'm also an aspiring candidate for Etfudwa 22. I do not think that women, speaking from my own personal perspective, it's very hard for us to get into political parties. I know of so many young women who got exposed to rape in political parties. There's way too much ageism in political parties. You can't even run for office when you're still young in political parties. So for me, I do not think my political parties, they're safe for young women. So yes, this is my thoughts, and it is actually based on my experiences.
Good evening. My name is Liel, and I'm from Deaf Women in Tibet. Well, I would like to say young women, they might want to aspire or want to participate in politics, but the problem is, as for women with disabilities, there are no resources that support them to participate. Like deaf women, they don't even, sometimes you don't even have facilities. Even the political parties supporting people with disabilities. So it's becoming a challenge for young women with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the contributions. I think we need to get the show on the road again. I did mention that we have got 3 segments to this debate. The first one was looking at gender equality. We still have to look at economy. We still have to look at education. But you can keep your questions. We will come back to you after closing off another segment. I'm sure the questions will still be as equally relevant to the next discussion. I'm told there's just one burning contribution. Can it be quick so that we move along?
Thank you. My name is Elizabeth Tugwete, and I'm a student as well as a volunteer at Katwi Sisterhood. And I just want to address the brother who just made a comment about social media and how that seems to be what women, young women, are up to. That's the problem with Zimbabwean society. Like, we're so obsessed with policing everything that a woman does. And I don't understand it. As in 2018, you can't actually stand up and tell a whole room full of people that the reason this society is crumbling is because of Instagram. That is false. This society is crumbling because men don't respect women and our bodies are politicized. So in going on with this deliberation and this talk, please be conscious of what you're actually saying. Like, let it make sense and let it progress the agenda.
Thank you very much for that contribution. Now, just to summarize that first segment, we were trying to answer the questions whether the parties represented here favor increasing or reducing female representation in politics. whether the party positions on voluntary party quota are equitable representation of women, and we were also looking at what steps the parties have taken in reference to constitutional provisions, section 17 and 56, and we also wanted to explore how they are making the environment, the political environment, conducive for female participation. We close off that segment. We move on to education. I know education contributes to the first one that we are talking about, gender equality. But moving along, the question that we are now responding to, our party representatives up there, we are looking at what your party is going to do to make sure that girls remain in school, they don't drop out, and they've got equal opportunities to further their education where there are choices to be made, whether it's going to be a boy or a girl. What are your party positions in reference to girls' education? We'll just start from the same side we started earlier, or you want to reverse now? It's starting with you this time. Build Zimbabwe Alliance.
All right, thank you very much. Before I answer on the question that you just asked, I wanted to also contribute to the previous question. Where
sorry, if I can stop you there, we need to move forward. Can we move? Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Our manifesto is divided into a 10-point plan, and one of our plan, which is plan number 5, yes, it's on emphasis that we are going to make it a policy that we are going to empower women and the girl child. We actually have a plan to launch a program that is known as the Pathway Out of Poverty, where we are going to prioritize the education of the girl child. So what we are going to do with that plan, we are going to actually fund the education of that girl child who is disadvantaged, and that girl child who has no resources to continue with education. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move. The next representative. Girl child education. How is it high on your priority list as a party?
Okay, thank you. From the NCA perspective, in terms of education, I just want the audience here to understand that we are a social democratic party. What that means, it might look so complicated in terms of the jargon, but if you are calling yourself a social democrat or a social democratic party, you are simply saying that the state must use its resources to ensure that the minimum average person is also able to access important facilities such as health and education. So our position is that education is supposed to be for free from grade 1 up to university level. We're saying that parents must cater for their children at ECD level and at preschool level. Once your child has passed those 2 stages, which are the first crucial stages, it means that the government itself should take it upon themselves to ensure that everyone receives education for free. This is quite possible because if you look at our country, we've got a lot of resources that we have. So it just needs a committed government. And the assurance that is there is that an NCA government is assuring Zimbabweans that education must not be for sale. Because if you are born poor, if you are born from a poor parent, you should also you should be able to excel. So to us, it's not about the girl child or the boy child. It's just that the facility in terms of education must just be for free.
Thank you very much. So the take home there is your party advocates free education for all.
Yeah.
Thank you. We move right along. Zunde.
Thank you very much. According to our manifesto, we are saying from primary level, probably to Form 4, education must be free, especially to mainline schools. I mean government schools or council schools. If somebody would prefer for private school, then parents should cater for that. But what we are also saying is when somebody is proceeding with his or her education, then the government must chip in and give some grants or some loans to those students so that when they complete their education, they must be able to pay back to the government so that the resources won't be emptied. But according to the situation right now, as we are looking at it, it is our pain and our sympathy as we're moving around to especially universities where female students are opting to sell their bodies in exchange for money and everything else because of the desperation they have and the poverty they have. So according to our constitution and our policy, education must be assisted wherever is possible by the government and other wings that can be of great use and help. Thank you.
Thank you very much. MDC?
Thank you. As the MDC, our starting point is to look at the disparities with regards to the, which were brought about the traditional education system in the country, which disadvantaged the girl child. So we feel there's a gap. Some that were born during the 80s or 70s that did not have access to education. We feel this is still the opportunity, as much as we're focusing on the girl child, but there are also adults that were disadvantaged. So our policy, we're also looking at the issue of adult education as an important issue as well. And then most importantly, we're looking at the infrastructure as well. How many schools do we have? And the distance, the walking distance that our children, our girls have to move when they go to school. You realize that some schools are maybe 10 kilometers away, 15 kilometers away, and it becomes difficult for those girls to go to school. And some end up residing in places nearer the school which are unsafe. So as the MDC, we're looking at the issue of infrastructure, making sure that there are adequate schools and schools that are in proximity to communities. And also we're looking at the curriculum itself. How sustainable is this curriculum in terms of developing our girls? We're looking at the issue of, for example, there's the Nzira Masanga Commission, which has not been implemented, but it's a very good document. It has been shelved somewhere. We're looking at tech-folk education. There are some that are not academically gifted, but then they could be technically, they could be gifted. They can do some other things. So we look at, issues around arts, even cultural issues that can actually help them in advancing their lives. So we're looking at tech-folk education as also one of our concerns. And then I think should be in 2013 when the Ministry of Education conducted a study, and out of the study, it came out, I think, about 13,000 learners dropped out of school. And out of those learners, 52% of the girls that dropped out, I think girls were about almost 8,000. 52% of those that dropped out, it was due to early pregnancies. And if one falls pregnant at a tender age, some will even grade 6, grade 7, what it means is that they will now be adults at an early age. So now that is the challenge that we as the MDC, we're saying, okay, fine, there is that problem. What are we doing to address early child marriages? And we're looking at issues like the issue of infrastructure, which I spoke about, the issue, even education itself. Our education system, how does it help in inhibiting all those, all those challenges that compel young girls to indulge at early ages? So those are some of the issues that we're looking at.
Thank you very much. Let's move along. Next speaker.
Thank you. What we are advocating for is that after the girl child has given birth, she should be allowed unconditionally to rejoin the education system and complete studies. We also advocate that the government should be in a position to provide per capita grants which are in favor of the girl child. That is, we are proposing that at least if the boy child is given a quarter, the girl child must be given 3/4, just as an affirmative action to promote the inclusion of the girl child. We also want this issue of grants to be continued up to university level. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Now the ZAPU position on the same issue.
Thank you very much. I think I concur with most of the speakers. There is an old adage which says, you educate a man, you only educate one person, but you educate a woman, you educate the whole nation. ZAPU is committed to making sure that the girl child receives as much education as the boy child does. When we go out, particularly to the rural areas, we have been howling, and literally howling, and talking to our traditional leaders, to our parents, and saying, please educate your girl child in as much as you want to educate your boy child. There's less of that now, where a situation would be that if we have got 2 children, only the boy would go to school. I'm very happy that at least I think we've moved on a little bit in terms of that. My colleagues have mentioned quite a number of issues, and I don't think I need to add to any of that, except in terms of the fact that, you know, they are talking about infrastructure, and most of the cases they are talking about the school facilities. What is often missing is, is the issue of sanitation. All of you know what happens to a girl child from the ages of 12 upwards. Every month, the girl child has to go through a certain process. And a lot of our schools, particularly rural schools, don't have running water. They don't have proper toilets. And what does that mean? It actually means that the girl child will lose at least 5 days every month. And how does she perform? How does she compare with her male counterpart at the end of the year when it comes to examinations? ZAPU is very committed to making sure that schools are properly provided with water and sanitation. What we're also trying to do is to educate, educate a lot of people in terms of the reason why the girl child should be educated. I think somebody who has said, I think it's a Brazilian, who said, I can read and now I can control the world. And I think that should not only be given to men, but to the girl child as well. We are making every effort to make sure that our girl children go as far as they can. And our policy would be, starting at the very early learning process, ensure that people that are really worried during registration, to make sure that at least boys, girls are registered almost in same, if we are going to get our parity that we are talking about, from that very early age. When the registration process takes place, we should ensure that as many girls as boys, are registered in the schools right up to tertiary education. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ZAPU. Debaters, ZAPU has thrown our final challenge of the day on the table. Are you going to be the kind of political parties that give girls free support for menstrual health? A simple yes-no answer for the final round of the great debate. Can we have your answers, please? From this corner all the way to the end. Simple yes-no answer.
Yes. Yes, we'll do that.
We are working at that.
Yes.
Yes.
We will unconditionally do that.
Yeah, the mic is not working. Okay, of course it's a yes.
Yes, we will do that.
And so there is something you can hold your politicians to in this campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the very first 2018 election debate, her debate. These are your candidates. They represent 9 out of the 107 political parties. that have put forward their indication to ZEC that they will be running in the forthcoming elections. Unfortunately, we're out of time, so this is the end of the debate for today. Can you please give them a resounding round of applause? Debaters and candidates, we would like to ask you to also give thanks to your audience for all the questions that they put to you, and for the fact that these are the people who will ultimately decide whether you will be in the next government or not. Debaters. Thank you very much. We're now going to hand over for the closing remarks to Opomoyo, who is with the Women's Coalition, the executive, to give us the closing remarks and the vote of thanks. Please give her a warm welcome.
Thank you, Bella. Okay, thanks. Thank you, Bella. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it's over. Confirm it was a very interesting evening. We enjoyed ourselves. Can we give the debaters another round of applause? I've always hated this, to say thank you, because at times you end up forgetting some people, but I'll try my best not to forget. I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of Women's Coalition, and I think WIPSU as well, to thank the debaters. Thank you very much for coming. The delegates from the political parties here present with us, Women's Coalition and WIPSU for the splendid work done. The partners that supported this event, the press present, the members of Women's Coalition, and of course, Bella and Violet. It was lovely. Thank you very much. For all those I forgot, thank you. It was a lovely evening. Enjoy your night.
Here. Sorry, thank you. Can the members of the press please proceed to the press briefing room?